Hey there, friend. Welcome to the Having a Mom Moment podcast. I am your host, Shannon Warner. This podcast is all about taking a few moments for yourself and reconnecting to the amazing woman behind the title of mom. You have so many plates spinning at any given time between your kids, your partner, your job, maintaining a household, etc., etc. But where does taking time just for you play into that? Let's spend some time together, you and me, right now. We're rebranding a mom moment to those sacred moments you take to fill your cup first. Let's connect, tune in, and tap into what makes us the incredible women that we are. We'll nurture ourselves first so we can be our best selves for those we pour into on a daily basis. We'll also bask in the beautiful wisdom of other moms to learn about the ways in which they've tapped into alignment in their own motherhood journeys. Come on, mama, it's your time. We're having a mom moment. Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of the Having a Mom Moment podcast. I am your host, Shannon Warner, and I'm so honored that you took your precious time to join us here today. This week, our guest is Michelle Perkin. Michelle is the founder of the Breathing Room. She is a trauma-informed transformational breathwork facilitator who believes that your breath is your medicine. Her intention is to offer transformation in physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Her mission is to support others in regulating their nervous system and align with the life they are in love with. I'm going to pause here to issue a trigger warning for this episode. If traumatic birth or conversations around unsafe partners or home environments are uncomfortable or triggering for you, please pause here. We'll see you back on the next episode. Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited you're here. Can we start by talking about your motherhood journey?
Oh, what a ride. Yeah. Where to start? So my motherhood journey has been exactly the opposite of what I had planned. I thought I was going to have 7 kids.
Wow.
And I always felt like I was here to be a mother. It was a calling of mine, very passionate about kids, having kids. And I have one son. And I thought I was going to have kids in my 20s. And I didn't get pregnant until I was 29.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been just full of everything that I didn't think was going to happen. You have this vision of what life is, what family is, what having kids is going to be like. And it was none of that. Maybe some of that, but definitely not my plan.
I'm sure there's a lot of ups and downs in this story, but I'm really excited for it because I think it's so important to talk about, your vision and then what you may end up with and how those don't always align. And I'm excited to hear your story and then how you've navigated the disparity between the two.
Yeah. Well, maybe I think it really started with my pregnancy. It was not planned. I had just met this partner and got pregnant. And I always thought, I'm going to meet the one and we're going to get married and then we're going to have kids. And that, it was a surprise. It was oh my God, now what? And I was sick the entire pregnancy. I never had that moment where I was like feeling like I was glowing, or, you see those maternity photos where these women just look so gorgeous. Like, I wanted that moment, never had that moment. And my birth was traumatic. All of the things, like I think you can read as many books as you want, and you're just not ready for it. It's going through something that you go, oh, okay, that's what that is. That's what that experience is like.
Yeah.
And just so different for everybody. And it was so scary. I actually thought that my son wasn't alive when he was born.
Oh my God, I can't imagine.
I know. So the nurse, she was an angel. And she was guiding me through the entire process. And, my partner it was an unhealthy relationship. He was standing there, but I was more concerned about taking care of him.
Oh, Lord.
He was, I know, right? So all kinds of horrible. And so this nurse was an absolute angel. And she just looked at me and she said, "You've got one more push. We're going in to get him." And so I did. I had one more push in me. And he came out and, he wasn't breathing. There was no scream, right? So you see this, it's you're just not ready for it. It was
Right.
very traumatic, right? So it was like I seen blood and didn't hear a noise, and I was like, oh my God, he's dead. And then all of a sudden the room got very busy. He wasn't breathing. He got taken away. I got hooked up to all kinds of machines. I look up and the nurse that was beside me the entire time is gone. A new nurse comes in. And I was like, where's my nurse? And she's like, she'll be right back. She's got to go get a doctor and all of these other things. And what ended up happening was I was high risk for coma and death.
Oh my
And so
gosh.
I was on the labor table for over 24 hours, hooked up to machines on a catheter, and I didn't really know exactly what was happening. All as
So
I
you
know,
didn't know before that you were high risk?
no.
Or, oh my gosh.
No. And so I'm
You
not
said you were,
sure how long he was in NICU, but I eventually got to hold him. And I was just not even there,
yeah.
it was just so an outer body experience that I was
Mm.
like, this doesn't feel how it's supposed to feel. And then breastfeeding was wonky. And that, another moment that I had planned, that this was supposed to be such a beautiful moment for me. And I wasn't producing milk and it wasn't able to breastfeed. And I was like, this is not the plan.
Yeah.
Just on top of everything else that had just happened, I was like, oh my God, I'm failing already.
Mm.
And so, yeah, a really rough labor. And then we had both stabilized and we're only in the hospital for a couple of days. And
Wow.
then you're sent home
Yeah.
to manage, right? And then, I feel like just when you get into a groove with motherhood, they change.
Yep.
So, I really navigated quite a bit on my own. My mom had passed away when I was a teenager, so I didn't
Mm.
quite have too many people in the village
Yeah.
to support me in all of the things. So,
Yeah.
and then I left his father. It was a very toxic relationship. So I ended up leaving his father when he was 3.5.
Mm.
Not part of the plan, right?
Right.
Like you have a family and you grow together. I wanted to have more kids, right? So it was very heavy. And
Yeah. To say the least.
yeah.
Wow.
It's been a wild ride. And what has pushed me is wanting more for my son. And he has brought just these moments of bravery in me,
Mm.
courage in me that I don't think I ever would have found if it wasn't for him.
Yeah. Yeah. That super resonates.
Yeah.
How old is your son now?
He's 11.
11.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely, I have a board past the screen here and of my ideas and my brainstorming, and I've got written down, do it for your girls, because all of it scares the shit out of me, like I can't not, the cost is too great, I have to.
Yeah.
I have to.
Yeah.
So I totally hear that. How do you think we as women and mothers, I mean, really, I don't think it should fall on us, but I think the system collectively is failing new mothers, and they're having these experiences that aren't what they planned because I don't think they have the education. Even if they're seeking the education, I don't think they're getting, they're not getting like the nitty gritty, like this is what might happen, and be open-minded, and things might take a turn, and you're going to be okay, but it might not be what you planned. Do you think if you had kind of a better idea of the whole pregnancy, childbirth, labor, delivery process that maybe you would have been better prepared and it may have been slightly less traumatic? I mean, what you went through was absolutely traumatic, but it wasn't according to your plan. Do you think that played into the level of trauma to some degree?
Yeah, that's so important. It really like blows my mind how little education we're offered. Like you
Yeah.
don't get to drive a car unless you've done this education, read these books, done this test. Okay, then you get a license, and you have all these things working up to it. My experience was if you wanted to take Lamaze class, you could, but you didn't have
Mhm.
to,
Right.
and if you want like a doula, you can, but you don't have. It's not, and then the supports after were also options. Only in hindsight, looking back, I'm like going, where was the professional support in that? Like
Yeah.
somebody should have been following up. I think that like postpartum there's just so many heavy, scary things that I think that we shy away from, that it's so good to have these conversations, to be like, these experiences aren't as few as we would hope.
I agree. I was talked into what at the time, I wouldn't call it that now, but at the time I called it an airy fairy birthing class. And it was definitely for women who were like aiming towards very natural births with very low intervention and whatever. And I was horrified the whole time I was there, like the second to last week, I'm like, well, when are we going to talk about epidurals? And she's like, we don't talk about epidurals unless it's like an emergency. And I was like, oh, I'm in the wrong class. Okay, got it. But even still, I was not at all prepared. I went to all the classes, did the homework. My husband was sitting there, like, and I got down to it at game time. I had no idea what was happening to me. I was just like, okay, someone tell me what to do because I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's the best next step. And then the whole breastfeeding thing on top of it. And it's like, even the education that is available that you have to go find yourself, like, is still going to have gaps.
Yes.
And
You
I don't
can,
know how we navigate that.
yeah, you can prepare as much. One of my son's supports now, he just had his first child. And I said, he's like, oh, I should read the books. I should do this. And I was like, you can read all the things and you're still never going to be ready for it. It's just
Mm-hmm.
something that you go through. I
Mm-hmm.
think that what we can do is offer more things that are required,
Mm-hmm.
just like a basic course. And then other people are safety nets, because like you said, like it's so overwhelming. There's so much going on. Do I do this? Do I do this? It's like you can prepare as much as you can. And then it's the community, it's the village that are our safety nets, that are our guiding lights in those moments.
Yeah. And some people have nothing.
Mhm.
Oh gosh. I keep saying to my circle, I'm like, the system is consistently failing us. Like, screw it. Together as women, we're going to come together and build the supports in because no one else is doing it. No one else is seeing the need. And it's like, it's everything from pregnancy all the way through. And then you've got the postpartum depression and anxiety on the other side of it. And it's just like, we're being neglected all the way through the process. I don't think there's another word for it at this point. It just feels like straight up neglect. And I know you're in Canada, and I believe it's a little bit better there. I could be wrong, but it's not great here in the States. It's lacking everywhere.
Yeah, our systems are probably a bit different, but I feel like there's a lot of similarity too. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like you were missing a ton of support as well. So,
Yeah.
and then you hear in other countries how they do have postpartum doulas and check-ins and checkups. And, it's like, here you get your 6 week, like, you're safe to have sex. Oh, thank you. Because that's really what I was waiting for. Like, great.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'll go back to my life now. Yeah. Yeah. It's something that I get super fired up about because I just don't want it to continue happening. Like, I'm done having children, but I have friends who are still having children. And I have a girlfriend who just had a baby a month ago. And I don't think she'd mind me sharing this, but she messaged me today like an SOS because I told her, I was like, I've got you for the good, the bad, and the ugly. You can reach out to me anytime. And she was like, all of these things are going on. It feels really heavy right now. Like, I just need to go for a run and like get this energy out. And I just like started dropping her voice notes. Well, I told her you can call me. And then I was like, no. Like, I am just, I'm going to be in your, DM, so to speak, in her, text messages. And I was just like rattling off the things that I wish someone would have told me when it got hard. But at the same time, I wasn't sitting here telling her, hey, parts of this are going to be really shitty. I'm really sorry. I'm like, because I think we have that fear to some extent, to be honest with them. We don't want to rain on their parade,
Yes. I remember having a conversation with a woman who was so close to her birth date. And I was so scared to tell her my story because I didn't want her being like, oh no, that's a possibility. So I was like, women have been doing this for thousands of years. Your body just knows what to do. You've got support around you, so there's definitely that part that we want to focus on, that because we don't want to put that fear in someone, but it is, it's the truth. And it's important to have that safe person that when it does get hard, when it does get dark, that you have those people that you can be real with, because, I just remember like just thinking wild things. Like I could just snap and throw this child out the window. And then it's like, that is so crazy. I can't believe I just thought that. I can't tell anybody that, right? Yeah, it gets wild. So just having those safe people that get it.
Yeah. And some of us didn't have that, or we didn't have, we may have had supports, but not people that we thought we could have said things to. My own husband, I told him I have a 6.5-year-old and a 19-month-old, so we had quite the gap. But when I was pregnant with the second one, I finally kind of let him in on how dark things got for me. And it wasn't until about the year mark. So I was like, this isn't postpartum. I just have issues. It's been a year. This is something else. I'm crazy. I'm whatever. And I kind of finally clued him in, because I was like, I don't want this to happen again. And I think you should know. And he was like, oh my God, like, why didn't you say anything? And, I worked through it and it was fine, but I did it alone. And just because I felt like it wasn't safe, even though I know I'm safe with him, it still didn't feel safe to share that darkness with him. It's so tough. And I think had there been some other kind of support, someone, from the system, whatever system, checking in on me, someone, a third party where I could be like, yeah, hey, not feeling good, having these really dark thoughts right now, or even just the, oh gosh, I'm going to trip and throw the baby, or I had it even with my youngest daughter. We have like this open stairway railing that, takes our stairs down to the lower level here. And you have to walk past him every single time to get to her room. And I can't tell you the number of times I was like, I'm going to trip and accidentally throw her to the stairs, and she's going to go down a flight of stairs and she's going to die, and it's going to be awful. And then CPS and the cops are going to show up and they're going to take my other child away. Like the spiral. So I agree. Having those supports are huge. Having those safe people are so, so important, but not everybody has them. And there's not a third party readily available a lot of times to have those conversations. Well, I thank you for sharing that. I can't imagine. I myself haven't had what I would call a traumatic birth. And that's a definition that's subjective, what's traumatic. Yours, I would agree yours is, but from one person to the next may not be traumatic. For some people it's traumatic because it didn't go according to their perfect birth plan, and I think that's where the education and the conversations need to be had beforehand, and just holding space for people and their hopes, but also their fears, because they can coexist. And I don't know. It just needs to be better.
Yeah, I find that just allowing people to express their journey. And if it's traumatic to someone, it's allowed to be traumatic to someone.
Yeah.
Like we can get caught up in trying to have a scale of something, or comparing to something, or, feeling guilty that we feel hurt by something, or something was traumatic to us because somebody had it worse. It's like, we're still allowed to feel bad. we're still allowed to have our journey with it, right?
Yeah.
Just, yeah, like how you said, holding space for people and allowing
Yeah.
them to have their journey and their perception of it. And yeah.
That's exactly right. Holding space and allowing them to have their perception of their journey, because the only person walking in their shoes is them. And it's not helpful for someone else to be like, you're fine. You're doing fine. Don't worry about it, you know?
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know what the perfect system looks like, but it's got to be so much more safe for women than what we have, And I'm sad to hear that it's not phenomenal in Canada either. Maybe someday North America will get it together and we can have better supports in place. Like I said, I swear, I'm like, the women are going to do it. Like, if y'all are not going to do it, get out of our way. Like, we're going to do it ourselves, you know? And I see so many programs because I'm in this, this motherhood kind of space, especially my focus really with the work that I do is focusing on pregnant women and their maternity leaves and helping them build supports. And there are so many other women in the motherhood space trying to make motherhood easier and more joyful, and in whatever, insert whatever you feel like you're missing in motherhood. We're already in the field doing the things, and it's regular women like you and I, it's not women with PhDs, and it's not, I mean, they're in the mix too, but it's regular women who are like, enough.
I was thinking about that before this and thinking, like, how long have women been birthing children? Like, we've been parents on earth for so long, and we still don't have it nailed down. Like,
Right.
this is like really something to contemplate, because I don't know if we're ever going to really nail it, because there's always this evolution. The next generation is always looking for something different than the next, right? So I think that just being with what we have is our mission, like our job, because if we're trying to figure out the way, I just don't think that that's even possible.
I agree. You're right. We continue to evolve on so many levels. I think for me, my big thing is like, I just don't want this for my girls. In 30 years, this cannot be the same.
Yeah.
And it feels like we're going backwards a lot of the time. So we're de-evolving. And I don't know. It feels like it's getting worse. I don't know. So after you have your son, what is life like once you kind of settle into things? Did you feel like you lost yourself in the journey anywhere along the way?
Ooh, yeah, a couple times. I felt right after I felt that it took a while to come back into my body. You've shared your body for so long. You've shared everything, your time, your energy, everything you do is about this child. So who Michelle was, like, I'm not even sure I really knew who Michelle was. I'd probably lost parts of me before that. But then I think becoming a mom, that was the role, the only role. And then it really took time to remember that I'm also Michelle.
Yes.
And so that was a whole journey of realizing that I'm not being the best mom I can be when I put myself on the bottom. I really thought, like, if I don't look exhausted and I don't complain about being tired, and if I, say, oh, look at, I can't afford new shoes because I'm taking care of my kids, like all of these weird backwards things, it took a while for me to understand that I can offer more to my son the more I take care of me.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing, right? It felt so backwards for me, and a challenge to get to that place and feel really good about it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you meet women who aren't there, it's like you can kind of get a little backlash. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, we all get to be taken care of. We all get to be valued. It took a while to really find Michelle again, just with sharing my body and my time and my energy. And then as he got older, and there was just really more life for different challenges with him, but also brought out different levels of me. And I think I've really come out of another level of finding myself again.
Mm.
And yeah.
It's so interesting. It's a process, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate to that as well. And I love how you said like coming, I forgot how you worded it, but like coming back into your body because it is a shared experience for so long. I've not heard it put that way before, but ooh, that hits home. That
Mm-hmm.
hits home for sure. Yeah. And even I think like outside of pregnancy and childbirth and breastfeeding, if you choose to go that route, like you are still their safe haven and they want to be on you all the
Mm-hmm.
time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Our attachment was huge. For the first 3 months, I slept heart to heart with him. He
Oh,
wasn't leaving my
yeah.
chest. And so, like, and even he walked late too. Like, he was 2, and I was still holding his hand while he was walking. Like, we were close in proximity and all the time.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And because of an unhealthy, toxic home, every chance I got to hide and get away, I would put him to bed and I would go sleep with him. Like, we co-slept till he was
Yeah.
6,
Yeah.
like so close all the time. So it was
Wow.
definitely, yeah.
I totally get that, why you would do that because it's safe for him and it's safe for you too. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I hate that you had a toxic situation, but do you think it has impacted your bond in the long run having that experience?
Yes. Yes. I really feel like we are both really aware of each other on maybe a level that a child and parent might not get to if you haven't experienced dark places. Maybe I don't quite know how to word it, but like, he's very aware of my emotions, and he'll just check in on me sometimes,
Mhm.
and it's beautiful that he has that awareness. Sometimes it's just like, oh, be 11, just be 11.
Yeah, I feel that you want them to be a kid, but I think there is some beauty in that, that connection, like you said, that not everyone's going to have that. I think our kids are assigned to us. I don't think there's anything that we
Yes.
can do. They are assigned to us, and I think you got each other through that situation, and what a gift.
Yes.
Even though it was a rough start, what a gift to have one another in that.
Yeah. I was a daycare teacher before I had my son. So I really thought that, like, I've got this parenting thing in the bag, right? I know all about
Yeah.
this education. And then when I became a mom, I was like, he's the teacher,
Oh,
like, and
yes.
I thought that was my role. I'm here to teach him. I'm the teacher. And then I was like, whoa, he is my teacher. He has chosen me. I think being a mom is such a sacred gift. And I'm just so honored that he's chosen me.
That's so beautiful, Michelle. You're gonna make me cry. No, I agree. I agree. I agree. I am not who I was. I could have never gotten there without them, you
Yeah.
know. And it's for that reason I'm okay shedding those pieces, and you can grieve those pieces, but it's like as hard as it is, this is just a totally new level of everything, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. They're the teachers. There's the teacher. Can you imagine if we all just kind of shifted our perspective a little bit, and what am I learning from this experience in this moment? Because if nothing else, at the end of the day, they're probably just teaching you to be patient, if nothing else.
Patience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I know. Gosh. Gotta love them. Gotta love them. Can we talk a little bit about being a safe space for your children to thrive in?
Yes, that's been a huge part of our journey.
Clearly. Yeah.
Yeah. So what um what I have noticed is the level of safety and the level of nervous system regulation are hand in hand. When we're in that survival mode, I feel like we're scared to explore. And I feel like when we are in that safe place and our nervous system can be regulated, we tap into being alive and we explore, we leap, we trust. We're in the flow, we're
Mm-hmm.
enjoying life, we're doing what we're here to do. And I think that it really starts with creating that safe place, or else we're always kind of looking for it.
Mm,
Or it's like somebody else is kind of like the parts that don't feel safe are got the wheel, they're running
yeah.
the show. Like, do you see me? Right. So I think that our journey has been huge in safety in the body, safe places, safe people, and then really allowing ourselves to enjoy life and find those moments of, yeah, like I love being around children because if they, when you're angry or frustrated, they can just do the silliest thing. And it's like, you could just get to laugh at something and it brings you right back home. And it's like, yes, this moment here,
Mm,
this moment of simple, of silly, this is what it's about.
yes.
And
Bringing you right back home. I love that.
yeah,
I feel like nervous system regulation is really almost a buzz thing right now. A lot of people are talking about it, but for our listeners, if someone doesn't understand what that looks like, could you elaborate?
yeah. So your nervous system has that survival state or the rest and digest. And our home space is the rest and digest. And through our different experiences, your nervous system lets you know, like, danger, this is not safe. And if we have moments where we have unprocessed energy or trauma, something was too much for us to process, or a need wasn't met, trauma is also too little, not enough, our body can hold on to these experiences, hold on to these emotions. So as you grow up, as you go through life, your nervous system can stay in states of survival and you might not even be aware of it. And a big thing for me was realizing that I don't have to go through life managing my triggers,
Mm,
that I can find ways to get to the root of my trauma and do my healing and do those deep dives and get control of my nervous system and know that life is going to get lifey. My nervous
yeah.
system is going to be activated. I'm going to have moments where I'm like in fear or, those states of survival. And now I have the control to shift my nervous system back into rest and digest, and also teach my son these tools, which is a game changer.
That's huge. That's
Yeah.
huge. I've
Yeah.
had this conversation with friends of ours. I've done a little bit of meditation with my now 6-year-old who started about a year ago, and I just pop on something on YouTube and she's able to settle right into it without a lot of resistance. And I'm like, if we grew up doing this stuff,
Right.
or grew up doing what you're doing with your son, like, oh my gosh, how different would it be?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
feel
He'll
like those are the tools that they really need.
he'll ask for breath work. So I got
Mm-hmm.
into breath work, and I didn't pressure him. I just let him watch me kind of regulate, or um would ask him if he wanted to join me in teaching, making a video to teach somebody else. And he was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'll try that." And then it got to the point where he would be like, "Hey, do you want to do some breath work?" I'm like, "Yes, yes, I do."
Yeah.
And just 2 minutes of, there's different, depending on the ages, there's different ways to incorporate it and make it fun and playful. But he's, 11. He likes to kind of just really connect with the breath. He doesn't need like the animal breathing or things like that, which can be fun, but he's cool. He's 11. So I like how he just asks for it. And like you said, it's like their level of resistance is so low that they're just like in alignment. It's like,
Mm.
yes.
Yeah. I get goosebumps when I think about it because it's like if we can help them, because they'll fall out of it just like we do, but if they have the tools in place and we can help them to snap back into alignment better than we have been able to do, it's going to be so powerful. So powerful. And I'd love to know how many people are actually, we're in a similar space, we came from the same program. So I know we're surrounded by people with a lot of similar, beliefs and in mindfulness practice and what have you. But I wonder, like on a grander scale, how many people are doing, even if they don't realize what they're doing, something, and it may look different from one person to the next, but I think mindfulness and things along that kind of line are becoming a little more mainstream, I hope.
Yes. Yeah. I totally agree. It feels so mainstream when you're surrounded by people who are like-minded. You're like, oh, everybody must meditate. Everybody must do breath work. Yeah, everybody loves nature. And then what I'm finding is I'm seeing a lot of people craving the connection, craving the rest, right? Like you said, like nervous system regulation seems like such a buzzword. And I think because people are like, the human is just like,
Mm.
what are we doing in this busy, chaotic world with all this
Yes.
pressure and all this stress and go, go, go. And so our humans self is like, we need rest. We need connection. We're craving this mindfulness. So what I'm noticing is a lot of people are stimulating, like going to their phones for, that quick hit of dopamine, or looking for some sort of connection, right? And I think the missing piece is that it's not in the stimulation on the outside, it's the sensations, that connection on the inside,
Mm.
that yeah, and that kids just like, they just get that because they haven't had all these life experiences of what this, all this muck.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think people who aren't even in kind of, this stream that we're in, like you said, the human, like I think people who are even like, that is not I'm not woo woo, I'm not in any of that, blah, blah, blah. Like they're feeling it too, even if they're not acknowledging it, because everyone is searching for something else that they don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's time for some collective healing.
Yeah.
I feel like if everyone could just like do a breath work, and I've only done a couple, but I'm like, every time I come out of a breath work session, I'm like, okay, let's just go heal the world right now. Like, let's do it. I'm ready. Like, who's with
Yeah.
me? Let's go. Let's go. Can we talk more about breath work and the work that you do? Because, until recently, I didn't really know what it was. So some people are probably like, what are we doing? Are we taking deep breaths? What's happening? What's breath work?
Yeah, I get that a lot. People think that I will teach you like how to breathe. And I'm trained in a trauma-informed transformational breath work. So it really is meeting your body right where it is and doing conscious continual breathing. So every session looks different. There's different breath patterns, and it is really an opportunity for you to notice how your body feels during different breath patterns and kind of go on that journey within you. Like it's wild how fast you can get into your body and connect with your nervous system. Like it just does it, like we do a lot of mind work, but breath work is body work. It's like a bottom up approach. So when your mind is on that hamster wheel and we know things, like we know like this isn't a healthy thought, or all of the things like that, like for safety, our mind will know that we're safe, but our body doesn't feel safe. So it's acknowledging that, allowing that to be there, connecting, or having space for that, and getting into the body with the breath, and then allowing that energy to process. And then you're also shifting, like there's all the body chemistry that goes with that, right? Like releasing carbon dioxide on that exhale. People who really resonate with feeling anxious a lot tend to breathe shallow and in their chest, and they're not expelling the carbon dioxide fully, which research has shown that if you have a high amount of carbon dioxide in your body, it resembles the same sensations as anxiety. So you might feel anxious in your body and your brain's going, why does my body feel like this? This doesn't make sense. It could literally because of the levels of carbon dioxide. So that long, slow exhale and really like pushing it out till you feel your stomach tighten to get all of that carbon dioxide out.
I feel like a lot of people listening are probably checking their breathing right now. Going, am I doing that?
Yeah. I was totally a mouth breather, and I didn't realize like, how shallow my breath was, and just how often I was keeping my breath in my mouth. And I really feel like breath work found me. I was full of anxiety, depression, complex PTSD, counseling for years. And it was right, I think, at the beginning of the pandemic. And I had went into another state of sheer panic, and just, it was me, it was my house, and it was everywhere I turned. And so I had a moment of surrender and just said, like, what am I supposed to do? And breathwork showed up on my Facebook one day, and I was like, what is this? And I tried it, and it was with Sam. And I knew that I needed to do this program. I needed to do this for me. And then after that, I was like, how I need to share this with people. People need to know this is an option. And yeah, that's what I've been doing ever since.
I love it. I love how it found you. I'm sure looking back now, you're like, of course it found me. It's so magical the way, the things that are meant for us come right in. And so you've been doing it for how long now? A couple of years?
2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And Sam, you're referring to Samantha Skelly from Pause Breathwork, right?
Yes.
She's really magical. So I'm sure you've got some incredible tools in your tool belt, because I know that she is fantastic. Those are the only sessions that I've attended so far, breathwork wise, and so magical. So the first time I was so skeptical, I was like, what is happening? Like, okay. I mean, if Kathy Heller says it's good, I'll try it, and then I come out of it like bawling and like wanting to hug everybody and like all of these visions and, just, and it's a different experience for everybody, what you get out of it. But I think you get out of it what you need to get out of it from my perspective.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So powerful. So if someone's intrigued, how can they work with you?
So I do have a studio called the Breathing Room. I do also work online. So we do sessions through Zoom. I think the best way is to check out my Instagram and follow me on there. I do have a Facebook page as well where I post like Calendly links and stuff like that. So there is an option to do group sessions or one-to-one, really depending on what you're looking for.
I love that. And we'll put all your links in the show notes so people can find you. And if
Yeah.
people are wondering if they're close to you, can you please remind us where you're located?
I am in Medicine Hat, Alberta.
Medicine Hat?
Medicine Hat. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Got it. Got it. Is it a
Yeah.
small town or is it
Oh gosh, I think there's like
sizable?
60,000.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's sizable. I know it's not
Yeah,
like big city, but that's big enough. Like it's going to show up on the map, right?
I think so.
Interesting. Love
Yeah.
that. Makes you wonder where these names come from. Anyway, I like to ask all of my guests a few of the same questions. So, first, what didn't you expect motherhood to change or shake up in you?
I think my ability to really wing it.
Mm,
I, like I said at the start, I had a plan and nothing went to my plan. And so it really shook up my ability to let go and wing it.
yeah, it's so good. It's
Yeah.
so good. And it's hard for planners and people are like, here's the checklist. I checked the checklist. Did we move forward? Yeah. I
Yeah.
understand that for sure. Yeah. And as the kids get older, they love it when you wing it. They're like, cool, whatever, let's go do the thing. Like it's cool. Yeah. Most of them. If you could give one piece of advice to another mother at any stage in the motherhood journey, what would it be?
Hmm. To follow your own intuition. There are a million outside sources, advice, all of the things. And I think that the moments where I really honored what felt right for me, even though it was a moment of me standing alone, I look back and I'm so proud of those moments of making those decisions. That's where I really felt good. You like in hindsight, we have so many moments where it's like, oh, if I could have a do-over, I would do that
Yeah.
one different. And those moments where it was like, I really followed my own intuition, those are the moments that it's like, that's not a do-over moment. That's a proud, honored moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, my advice would be follow your intuition.
And we all have it. I think sometimes we think it's silence, but it's there. Once you start
Mm.
clearing some of the muck away by whatever means, whatever practice you have, it'll come. Lastly, how do you reconnect to yourself in motherhood?
Taking those, even if it's a small moment in the day for Michelle, and honoring that piece. And sometimes it's that quiet coffee in the morning before you wake the kids up. It's like it's like that nice warm hot coffee and just really soaking in. Maybe it's only 10 minutes and that's a beautiful 10 minutes. And yeah, I like that quiet time right in the morning before the house gets busy, and reminding myself of my value and putting myself first. And that allows me to be a better mom. And so, when it's like, when my brain's like, oh, I can't afford that, it's like shifting that perspective to, I have this desire and I'm going to allow this desire into my life and show, my son that the beauty in living in that luxury, living in desires, and taking care of myself. So, you know, uh, if it's the shoes or the, um, what did I just get? I'm like obsessed with pineapples. So I got this pineapple cup just because, it makes me
Yeah.
happy, and just allowing him to see me doing little things like that, that fill up my cup, and really soaking in those moments and being okay if it's 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. And maybe, on other days, like Sundays, that's our lazy days. So maybe those days, having more time to connect with me, or I really value friendship. So that's another way that I kind of fill up and take care of myself, is realizing that that person outside of a mom needs to be filled up too.
Mm, exactly that.
Yeah.
Exactly that. Yeah. That's why I'm doing this whole podcast is, we are so much more outside of moms. It's such an important piece, but it is not the whole. It is a piece of the whole, and you've got to
Yes.
take care of the rest of those pieces.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I raised my hand, like testify when you said quiet coffee, because literally, if anyone asks my husband and I, like, do you miss your pre-children life? Our exact words are, we miss quiet coffee. Like on the weekends, like that's what we miss is like, instead we get up and like we put Bluey on and the kids are like, "Ah," Yeah. Maybe we need to get up a few minutes earlier on the weekends and have that quiet coffee. But that's why I was like, yes.
Yeah.
I hear that. And it is those little moments. And when there's so much going on, if you can just carve out the 5 or 10, and maybe you don't switch the load of laundry right now, or maybe you don't load the dishwasher right now. If 10 minutes to calm your mind and soothe yourself in whatever means you need to will help you, like, then do that. Then do that.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah. I
Now
appreciate
that
you sharing that.
Yeah, now that my son's 11, he really understands, like, the boundaries with things. So, um, like, if I am having kind of like my time with a coffee out on the balcony, I will say to him, like, "Hey, this is just my chill time. Like, can you find something to do for 30 minutes that, like read a book or something to kind of he can be independent with just on his own." And he gets it. He's like, "Yeah, cool. Okay." And that's important, to take that time and to have those boundaries, appropriate to their age and things like that. But sometimes, like, that mom guilt can be so strong. We feel like we need to be needed. We need to be micromanaging and da da da. And it's like, they've got it. They can handle it. Take that time, have that boundary, sit there with that cup of coffee.
Yes, ditch the mom guilt. We're going to drop the mommy martyrdom. It doesn't serve anybody. And think about what you're modeling for your children when you do things like that. You're letting them know that it is safe for them to also have boundaries and also have self-care and all of the things. Like,
Yes.
if they just go into their adult life already knowing that, whereas women like you and I have had to figure it out once we're, knee deep in it,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
going to be so powerful. I love it. I love it. Michelle, thank you so much for sharing your story. I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing the dark parts with us. I think the more we have these conversations, it's not going to change the system, but it's going to show people that things may not go according to plan, but there's still a lot of beauty in motherhood, a lot of beauty in the journey, and it's all going to be okay.
Well, thank you, Shannon, for having me. I really appreciate the safe space and just allowing myself to be heard and my story to be heard. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Michelle. Be sure to listen till the end for all of the details on where you can find Michelle and her current offerings for breathwork sessions. Michelle, thank you again so much for sharing your story. I know sometimes it's hard to hear the pieces of the journey that aren't tied up in a beautiful little bow, but it is so important for us to share our stories and to hear these stories of other mothers, to know that it's not always going to go according to our plan, but it's going to be okay. And if you are experiencing struggles of any kind right now, I really want to encourage you to reach out to your village, reach out to your network, find a licensed therapist if that feels like the next aligned step for you, but get help, get support. We don't have to walk this journey alone. Here are this week's key takeaways. 1, your community and your village are your safety nets, your guiding lights. If you don't have one, you need to build one. Find the safe people that get it. 2, if you are a safe space, allow people to express their journey to you. If it's traumatic to someone, it's traumatic to someone. Trauma doesn't live on a scale. It's not a game of comparison. Hold space and allow people to have their journey and their perception of it. 3, it can take time to remember that you are also you when you become a mother. You're not being the best mom you can be if you put yourself at the bottom. You can offer more to your children the more you take care of you. We all get to be taken care of. We all get to be valued. 4, our children are our teachers and they have chosen us. What lessons can we learn from them each day? 5, be a safe space for your children to thrive in. The level of safety and nervous system regulation go hand in hand. When we're in survival mode, we're scared to explore. When we're in a safe space, we're tapped into being alive. We explore, we leap, we trust, we're in the flow, we're doing life, which is what we're here to do. 6, life is going to get lifey. Your nervous system will be activated. Learning nervous system regulation gives you control to switch your system back to rest and digest. Breathwork and meditation are fantastic tools, not only for us, but for our children to learn as well. 7, we do a lot of mind work, but we don't do a lot of body work. Breathwork is a bottom-up approach to that. Our mind will know we're safe, but our body won't know. Acknowledging, making space for that, and getting into the body with breath will allow that energy to process. And 8, remember that the person outside of a mom needs to be filled up too. Drop the mom guilt. You are entitled to moments to yourself and boundaries with your own children, appropriate to their age. If you're interested in learning more about breathwork or Michelle, all of her links are in the show notes, including her November offering if you're listening to this in real time. It includes 4 sessions meeting every Monday at 8 p.m. Mountain Time on Zoom. It's $55 Canadian or $40 US. Use the link in the show notes to sign up. To those of you who have been tuning in each week, thank you so much for your support. It would mean so much if you would follow or subscribe and rate the podcast if you love the conversations and the things happening over here. It really helps to push the algorithm to spread the word about this podcast and the amazing women that have shared this space. And please share this with a friend who may enjoy what's going on here as well. Don't forget to follow me on socials at Having a Mom Moment on Instagram and also over on Facebook. And if there's a topic you'd like to hear about in a future episode, please reach out to me. You can message me on either platform or you can send me an email at havingamamoment@gmail.com. And if no one has told you today, you are amazing, you are loved, and I am so proud of the beautiful human that you are. Have a great day.